Right, hello and welcome to this week's angling vlog. This week you join me on the banks of the river and we're in search of chub. So before we get into this week's vlog, I just want to say thank you to everybody who watched last week's vlog that I'll put at the top of the screen now. So it is nice to see that fishing is to me what it is to other people. Somewhere to go and have fun, but also get away from the trials and tribulations of day life. It really is the best thing in the world, fishing. So thank you to everybody that logged in, checked out that video, and I'm really glad you did enjoy it. Just sat by that brook, catching a few roach is what it's all about. Getting away from it all and catching a few fish. During that vlog, we did use the Korum Phase 1 rod, and during the vlog I did ask if people wanted me to take it out and try and catch some chub. So that is exactly what we're doing today. Like with the brook, it's been about 2 years since I fished this swim, and as you can see it's still overgrown, loads of trees, but you can see that somebody has been fishing it. There's a bit of a flat spot at the bottom that was never there, so I'm looking forward to seeing what the swim has to offer. As you can see on screen, there's loads of trees up above, so the 10-foot rod really is going to be helpful today. So let's take a look at what we're going to use with it. So as you can see, we're using a 10-foot Phase 1 rod from Korum. I've got that teamed up with the switch reel, and on there I've got 4-pound line. That is down to a 6 number 4 stick float. I've got a little bulk of number 4s shotted together just to get the bait down, and a number 4 shot down on the hook link just to keep it down as well. I'm using a tiny size 18 hook, and I'm using a 2-pound 1 ounce bottom. And looking at the side tray, nice and simple. Got maggots left over from a recent session. You see there's 1 or 2 casters in them. Got some Hinders hemp, and that's the Chinese. Boiled that myself the other night for the ribble. Just brought a bit of it out. Far too much there. And I do refreeze my hemp, so I'll cover it with water, put it in the freezer, defrost it next week. That's how I've always done it. It's always done me well. And you can see there, at the start we went over the setup, but the basics that you need. You know, river fishing really is simple in what you need to do it. But yeah, nice simple side tray. So looking at the swim, you can see the river comes down here. It's quite clear close in, and got a bit of clarity. There is a bit of rain due later today, which might change things, but it's got a good pace to it. And looking down the swim, this is the area here where I'm hoping to get me bites. As you look downstream, it does shallow, and you can see overgrown. And yeah, if we do get a chub or dace or trout, type of species that we're going to be targeting, it's going to be good fun. It's going to be hit and hold. It is a good swim from the point of view of using this rod, in the fact that there isn't any snags. Like there's not, you're not trotting down to a sunken tree where you are going to have to really hold them. We're going to have some room in the swim to play any we catch. But yeah, I'm excited to make a start and just see what this tiny rod can do. One thing with these places is never be too eager to cast in. It can be very tempting to want to go in straight away, but just take your time, build the confidence of any fish that are there, and it'll mean you'll get a bite a lot quicker. So this is something that regulars on the channel will not have seen me use very often. I always carry one, don't really use them that often, but I'm just a bit conscious that maybe some of the maggots are not getting on the bottom, and chub will happily sit in a foot of water down there. So I'm going to bait drop for some maggots just down here, so I know there's some bait on the bottom, so I know when I'm going over the top that there's some. So I'm only going to do it the once. I'm going to really pile some maggots in, and there's a few casters in there, but if one thing Mr. Chub is, he isn't picky. And for anybody new who's not seen one of these, you put your line through there, the hook in the bottom, you lower it down, and when it hits the base of the river, that pushes down like that. Kills about 10 maggots in there, but you get the idea. It releases the bait on the bottom of the river, not up in the water, and when it comes back nice and empty, and you know all them maggots now are on the bottom of the river. So just feeding them maggots and that bit of hemp when I first arrived. The first trot down and the float's buried, and we're into the first fish. So normally on the channel, as you know, I like to hold them up for the camera, but as you've seen with the swim, there just isn't enough room, so there won't be any holding up the fish for camera today. So the keep net is in today. As you can see, such a small swim, putting them back, they're just going to spook the shoal. When you bear in mind we hooked the fish here, right where we wanted to get the bites. Not having the GoPro today is going to make it harder to show you guys how I'm doing it, but hopefully I recorded a couple of years without a GoPro, we can just show what we can do in a tiny swim on the phone. That chub is now in the net, and what I'm doing, just drip feeding some more baiting. You know, to get a bite so quickly, it didn't have any maggots in its mouth, which says to me there's one or two about. So let's just keep that bait trickling in. And that's the first trot down. After that first chub, we've gone straight back in and hooked another. And you just gotta play the game, like I always say. I'm sorry for the noise in the background, but I can't do anything about religion. As you can see, a lovely bend in the rod, the reel ticking over nicely, and it's doing alright, isn't it? So chub number 2, and in mint condition, as you can see. So 2 chub, proper buzzing, and it's just a case now of repeating the process. What I am noticing is, if you look over there, that would be the obvious place to trot down, but the actual deeper water is just on the rod tip here, so that's the water that I'm targeting now. On these small little rivers, it's easier than the big ones to find the fish, because you can literally see the areas where they won't be. But can you see here how you just can't see the bottom here for a good length of it, and then obviously downstream down there it gets rocky and shallows up. So it can tell you the area to target in the swim. And again, apologies for the noise in the background. There's not a lot I can do. But hopefully you are enjoying the video. And yeah, 2 chub, more than made up. We'll just keep putting them maggots in. And we'll give it 5 minutes before we make the next cast. So I'll do my best to try and get it on camera. But that is the line that we're going down there. Round about there is where we've been getting the bites, right there. And we bumped that one obviously because I've got me rod in my hand, but hopefully that shows round about where we've been getting the bites. So this is a swim in the past I would have used my 13-foot rod in, and just manoeuvring beneath the trees, it's not just playing the fish it makes easier. You know, we get tangles like that where the float wraps, where you've got to swing the line in and stuff like that, and just being able to swing the line to hand without it catching in the trees and stuff like that with a 10-foot rod. It's just the little things like that that make it easier, that you don't realise till you actually come and try a smaller rod. And yeah, like on that brook where we could trot down the middle and we weren't hitting the far bank, on here you don't really realise the little things like that till you actually come and try it. So it's taken half an hour to get the next bite, but eventually just trickling them maggots in. I actually stopped casting for probably 10 minutes and just fed bait. And like I always say on the channel, chub fishing is a game of chess. But as we move into winter and towards the end of the season in January and February, it's my favourite thing to do. And like on the brook last week, we're just showing the potential of places that maybe most people would walk past and not even look at. But if you target the right areas, you can hold some nice fish. How many, when they first saw the swim this morning, thought we'd have 3 of these from it in the first hour? Just showing the potential of little waterways if you target the right areas. And say the swim's too tight to hold it up, get a quick video and we'll get him in the net and we'll begin trying to catch number 4. And like I said on the brook video, little venues like this are excellent places to learn. You can see, the same as when I talk about the Ribble, you've got the fast lane, you've got the middle lane, can you see how it's just a little bit slower? And then you've got the inside lane where it's even slower again. And on the Ribble you've seen me go down the middle when it's low, and then you've seen me go right down the inside when it's high. And this river will be exactly the same. The higher this river gets, the more the fish will move from being in that lane to sitting underneath your feet. You can see down there the boils of a bit of an eddy, just the same as on the bigger rivers. So if you have got a venue like this, you can see there a bit of debris coming down, which is worrying, but you can just see there how if you are new to rivers and you've got a venue like this close to you, excellent places to learn rivers. And I've not done anything special. I've got a very affordable rod, a bit of line, float, landing net, some maggots and a bit of hemp, and literally just holding it back, and then when it gets there you're getting the bite. So good luck to you guys if you're going to go out exploring. And one thing to remember is there's no prizes. You know, you're not in a match, you're not, you know, against anybody else. Just take your time. The most important thing is, like we've seen today, you get the fish out. You know, we're only on a 2 pound 1 ounce bottom, and the most important thing is we get the chub out. And one thing I have learnt with chub, you know, some of the chub really fight hard, you know, and they can be the smallest ones you get of the day. This one looks to go against that, it looks like a decent one, but sometimes them chublets can be the ones that snap you, because they are the ones that go mental. But how beautiful does that look, the white lips of a chub on a cold January day. And let's see if we can get him in. And what a lovely chub that is. Just popped him on the scales and he's gone 2 pound 11 ounces. And in the world of chub, not a huge chub when they're going, what, 9 pound these days. But when you look at the venue it's come from, you know, a tiny, tiny little stream. And that's the, what, number 4? So, yeah. Good to see that a venue that I've not been for a while is still doing well. So holding back right at the top of the swim, we've managed to hook Mr. Greedy. He's the one that's right on the maggots. Chub number 5, I think it is. What a great 2 hours it's been, and the lovely colours on that, all the browns and the coppers and the yellows. Beautiful fish. And a handful of maggots. The next trot, we're into the next one, and when they're on it they're on it. And it's good to see that there are still places where, you know, fish thrive. And as you can see here, I think this is number 6 or number 7. I guess the day's summed up when you begin to forget, isn't it? A lovely chub. And we've had some fun this morning, most definitely. And I won't apologise for using that word in these blogs, because that is what fishing is all about. And today, I have had fun. Let's get him straight back and get back out there. But as we move to the end, just going to really be positive now. We've had a few bites, haven't we? So, you know, anything's a bonus. And what I'm going to do now is just try and get them remaining chub, if there's any down there, just to lose complete, you know, thinking. I want them to be going mad down there now for bait, thinking there's a lot of food coming in. Just increasing that amount of maggots. This one has actually come on that inside line that we were dripping a few on when we decided that we'd put some down there in case the river did come up a little bit, and that's where this guy's been hooked. He's just holding mid-river. Definitely responded and fell to that increased amount of maggots towards the end of the session. And a good way of knowing that the end is near, if he'll open his mouth, he's got a mouthful of maggots, and that is a sure sign that the end is near. And there's not many down there, because all the maggots that are going in, most of them are ending up in one chub. So a quick look at him before he goes back. Could well be the last one we catch. You see, he's got a mouthful of maggots. Let's get him straight back. So the session does come to an end there now, and what an enjoyable hour or two on the bank it's been. It's really good when you go back to a venue after a while and the fish are still there. It's been great last week using the rod for roach, and this week going out for chub. And if there are any more videos that you'd like to see on the channel, pop some comments down below and we'll go out and test them out in other scenarios. Me, it's a bit of a confession. You do join me right at the end of the day now, and I did sneak off into another swim and not go home. As you can see on screen, I managed to catch 3 more chub. So yeah, I'm going home to another rollicking off the missus and a cold dinner. I want to wish you all tight lines in your own fishing. I really do hope you've enjoyed this week's vlog, and I'll catch you all next week. Tight lines.